Welcome back, my beautiful people. This is your boy Stefan, your Grenadian ambassador. In this video today, guys, I was looking at the news last night and I was listening to a matter that I think needs to be addressed. Let's take a listen to this news report and then we will come back and discuss all about it.
Concerns over growing absenteeism and lateness in Grenada's private sector took center stage in Thursday's Senate session. Business Senator Salim Rahman cited rising employee tardiness and possible abuse of sick leave, while Labour Senator Andre Lewis called for responsibility and integrity among workers. More in this report from Rena Pierre-Thomas.
Business sector representative in the Senate, Salim Rahman, has raised concerns about increasing absenteeism and tardiness in the private sector. During Thursday's sitting of the Senate, Rahman noted that data collected from several businesses show a rise in lateness among employees. He also expressed concern that some workers appear to be abusing their right to sick leave.
Another shortcoming that we see in the private sector is sick leave, an abuse of sick leave, where doctors are free to give any amount of time. And if you look at the laws with regard to that in Trinidad, you will see there's a limit. There are limits. I'm not sure that those things exist here. And so I have heard an employee of a hotel say, of course, many people don't recognize me outside of a suit because most times I don't wear one. And I've heard an employee say, I feel I will give them a week. I feel I will give the hotel a week. So you just go to the doctor and they tell the doctor something and the doctor gives time off and the employer has to pay.
Now, I'm not here to defend any wrongdoing, or I'm not here to defend lazy workers or those who are misusing the system. But for too long, the private sector workers have been not represented properly. And I am very much kind of disappointed with Mr. Salim Rahman, who normally represents the private sector workers or the private sector section of the country. I think that private sector workers are not represented properly. There's a lot of private sector workers, including myself. I have been in the private sector for quite a while. I have worked with for private employers. And there's a lot of private sector workers that is going through a lot of injustice and exploitation under the employers. And a lot of the times the cries falls on deaf ears. You know, the cries fall on deaf ears. When it comes to government workers most times are represented properly. You know, most times when they're going through something, the cries are heard and the situation is solved. But when it comes to private sector workers, I think it's unfair to only highlight what the employers are doing and not the employers, but what the employees are doing. And most times what the private employers are doing is not highlighted. We have to ask ourselves the question, Mr. Salim Rahman, you have to dig deeper and find out why sick leaves are being abused, why private sector workers are showing up on their job late, why some of them are not dedicated and passionate to the work. Why? You have to dig deeper, because there's a lot of people that is being exploited in the private sector section, or however you want to say it. There's a lot of private sector workers that are going through a lot of injustice and exploitation by the employers. Exploitation not only in the salary. A lot of private sector workers are still working for $800 and $900 a month. Long hours of work. There's a lot of private sector employees that are going through exploitation when it comes to the NIS contribution. A lot of private sector employees, NIS contributions are not being paid by the employers. And when something happens, they have nothing to get. So Mr. Salim Rahman, you have to dig deeper into this matter and find out why this is happening. Because a lot of wrongdoings, a lot of injustice is taking place in the private sector, and no one is being held accountable. No one is being held accountable. There are some private sector employers, when they go to the Ministry of Labor and they complain, their complaints fall on deaf ears. Most of the time, they do not get the results. Most of the times, because that employer has title to the name or some kind of connection in society, they are not held accountable. So, Mr. Salim Rahman, please look into this matter. Go deep into it. Find out why. Yes, you overheard a private sector employee saying that they're going to give this particular hotel how much weeks and how much weeks of sick leave, but you gotta dig deeper. What is going on? What is the root cause of this problem? Because it's not just the hotel. A lot of private sector employees are going through hell under the employers when in the Indian stores. And a lot of you don't hold these Indians and these foreign employers accountable. A lot of employees are going through a lot of exploitation and even discrimination and racism. There's a lot of racism taking place here in the private sector workplace, and no one is being held accountable. A lot of exploitation, long hours of work, and people are getting paid under the minimum wage still. So you got to look into that, Mr. Salim. Even not only in the stores, but restaurants. Restaurants as well. So you got to look into all of those things, because there's a root cause to why this is happening. Because a lot of private sector employees are going through a lot, but the cries are falling on deaf ears. So now they are forced or compelled to do those things. I'm not saying all of them are doing it out, some of them maybe, are abusing it, yes, but there are some employees, private sector employees, who do not have a choice. They are being overworked for little pay, and the NIS contribution is not being paid full. They are being exploited, and the cries are falling on deaf ears. No one is representing them. Who is representing them? Who is representing them? They are not being represented the way that they should be represented. So I ask you, Mr. Salim Rahman, please look into that. All right. So guys, thank you for watching. I will continue to be a voice. This channel will be a voice for the voiceless, because in Grenada there's a culture of fear that is going out, that is happening, in our society, in our community, in our job places. And people are going through a lot, especially in the private sector again, but they are afraid to speak up. Some of them are afraid to go into certain government institutions that is there to help them. Ministry of Labor, because an employer has a friend in Ministry of Labor, they are not held accountable, and sometimes it does not make sense. Some of them are afraid to speak up because the moment they speak up, they are threatened by the employer. They're going to be fired. And so some people choose to stay quiet because they have a family to feed, their children to take care of. They don't have any other choice when it comes to an income. So Mr. Salim, you need to look into that. So thank you for watching once again, guys. Let me know what are your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you. Take care.